Thank you, Chair and Commissioner and Deputy Commissioners and team. Thank you for coming along. As always, it's appreciated and we appreciate the work you do, and your comments, opening comments were, I think, resonated with all of us, so much appreciated. Commissioner, can I just start with asking you about governance structures within the AFP?
Sure.
Could you describe what you view as the governance structures around that hold the AFP accountable?
Well, by virtue of the AFP Act, governs our constitution and what we're set out to do, and then the processes and procedures we have with making arrests and a whole range of things that, I think our legislation is about 10 stacks high. That's really part of our governance framework. Of course, our democracy is the other part, and being answerable to this Senate and accountable to the public. There's probably, I could talk all day about that. But we do have the Chief Operating Officer here who might want to talk about the governance structures of police and in particular the AFP.
Thank you, Senator. Chief Operating Officer Catherine Van Gerp. Can I just clarify your question? Are you talking about our committee structures, our board structures internally, our commissioners' orders, our national guidelines? What part of governance? Because we have a myriad.
I guess I'm looking at it. All companies have a board of directors, and the executive management and operation of the company is held accountable to that governance structure.
Yep. So our peak internal governance board is our Strategy and Performance Board. That's chaired by our Commissioner. Membership comprises myself and the Deputy Commissioners and a number of advisors at the National Manager Band 2 level on that committee as well. We have an independent Audit and Risk Committee with 3 members that are independent of the AFP. The senior executive attend as advisors on that committee, so that oversights all our audit and risk governance and decisions and monitoring of our recommendations in that space. Underneath our Strategy and Performance Board, we have a range of specific boards. So we have our Enterprise Operations Board that I chair. That's where we focus on budget, resourcing and whatnot, the ICT corporate side. And then we have our operational.
Go through all of them, but I do
there's a lot of governance we have.
The one that you referred to, I think it was Strategy and
Performance Board.
Performance Board. Does that publish reports?
No, we don't publish reports. It's an internal board that considers confidential classified documents. We do, in our annual report, detail the membership of that board and the types of matters that board oversees. But no, we don't publish minutes of those meetings because they're classified.
Are they reported to the department, to the Secretary, or to the Minister, the Attorney General?
No, minutes of those meetings are not provided to those. But again, through our annual report, we obviously outline the membership of those committees and the nature of matters that committee oversights. So
there's no external review of governance and accountability and risk management?
No, as I highlighted before, our Audit and Risk Committee is made up entirely of external members. We don't have any internal members on that. We sit on there as advisors only, and that's where we oversight all our audit and risk components of the AFP, or the highest risk matters, our enterprise risks, and that's entirely independent.
I think also, Senator, we have lots of other agencies that inspect our records. The Ombudsman has wide-reaching powers. There's an Inspector General on Intelligence has wide-reaching powers into the AFP. We have the Human Rights Commission embedded into the AFP around our culture and our recruiting methods and other things. You've got external bodies that we have to report to. So there's a lot of scrutiny and accountability within that framework.
And I appreciate that, and that's wonderful. It's more trying to test where there is any public accountability, so, other Senator, than through this.
Just to perhaps remind you or help you out, we do have we're actually one of the most oversight agencies in the Commonwealth because we have both the law enforcement and the intelligence component. So just in terms of parliamentary committees, we're oversighted by the PGCLE as well as the PJCIS. Regularly attend those committees for various different briefings. As the Commissioner highlighted, we've also got the Ombudsman and various other mechanisms, as well as the court because of the criminal nature of the business that we're in. So I'd say we're one of the most oversighted externally agencies there are.
Thank you, Ms.
Senate estimates.
Commissioner, I'm not sure where to direct these questions, so I'll direct them to you in the first instance. I'm trying to get an understanding, if there's so much risk management going on, trying to get a sense of your risk management, particularly around where, and you raised it in your opening statement, I believe, you talked about direct and indirect threats. You said there were direct and indirect threats to parliamentarians and high office holders. Can you define or give us some information about how does the AFP, what is your view of a threat?
Sorry, what was that last bit?
What is, I should lean forward more or pull my chair in. How does the AFP define a threat?
It depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about internal threat, external threats, two different things: domestic threats, international threats, country of origin threats, crime type threats like cybercrime. Yeah, there are multiple meanings for us. So we have, you have to first of all identify those issues first.
As I said, I was referring to how you were referring to threats in your opening statement. So I assume that's a criminal
to parliamentarians?
threat?
Well, we collect intelligence and we gather that information and then work out is this threat credible, and we work out whether or not what actions or no actions are appropriate for that particular threat.
And for those sorts of instances, are you able to, a question on notice, provide some definitions or something that we could work with to understand how you look at threats?
Yeah, just understanding that there is a wide range of slightly different meanings in the criminal world and then in the other side of the business that we have. But yes, happy to. And
what's the difference between a direct or indirect threat, or a direct and an implied threat?
Yeah, I'll take all that on notice because I could probably speak about some of those where not everyone...
We've got a couple of hours. So.
Yeah, I know, but not everyone would appreciate, I guess, the different kinds of threats we have and how we treat those. So, yeah, I'd want to probably take that on notice.
So you can't just give a simple split between direct and implied threat?
Well, you can have a threat made through a third party, for example. You can have someone that takes a threat that we don't see as a threat, perhaps they see it as a threat, for example. So in some instances that could be implied, for example. It's sometimes how a person feels, if it's individuals. If it's our organisation, then you're talking different kind of threats.
Sure.
If you're talking state actors' threats, well, that's different again. So there's just lots of... It's a wide, broad definition of then what treatments we have to look at.
Sure, but I'm just asking you to simply separate out direct and implied or indirect threats.
I'll come back to you with our official definition. I haven't got it in front of me.
Okay, that would be terrific. You mentioned, let's go to how you understand or get to know what a threat is. You just mentioned intelligence. Is that the only way you come to understand a threat?
No, that's just one way.
What are some of the others?
There's other methods. Do you want to talk about threats? I mean,
Well, yeah, again, it depends what type of threat we're talking about, which crime type we're talking about. So it's difficult to provide you with a specific answer to quite a general question.
No,
Senator, could I perhaps
Please.
assist Lisa Gale, Deputy Commissioner?
thank you, Ms Gale.
Senator, I would offer that the Protective Security Policy Framework outlines detail on threats and how they're assessed. What we would say is how the AFP, our documentation outlining the definition of threats is classified. And the AFP is not able to go into it in a public forum, but I do note that its definition is focused on information indicating an intent to do physical harm, and it is aligned to the Protective Security Policy Framework.
Wonderful. Do you offer parliamentarians secure briefings on those sorts of materials?
We can do that, yes.
That would be wonderful. Appreciate that. Does a threat, understanding I haven't seen that framework and that might answer it, but just does a threat have to be, when you talk about threats in materials I read of yours, you're talking about direct and implied, that means they're known, or there's a piece of evidence that gives it weight or some greater concern, or it becomes a greater threat? Is that how you view them?
Senator, as I indicated before, I really am not able to go into that in a public forum in terms of any of that detail.
Wonderful. I look forward to that briefing. I may come back with more, but I'll hand over there, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Patterson. We can come back to you.